Professor Jain, another thing that I would request you to rebut is this desperate attempt to whitewash Aurangzeb's deeds and paint him as a savior of
Yeah,
temples and
yeah,
Hindus.
yeah.
So,
You,
where is the truth in this?
there is no truth in this at all. It's the story of Aurangzeb is absolutely black, and I'll give you examples. I'm not just talking about Mathura, because that Mathura case is well known and it is well documented. Marxist historians, joined now by some American scholars, they are determined to present Aurangzeb as a great Sufi saint. But the deeds of Aurangzeb are too black to be whitewashed. They say, I'll give you one example, that, when Shah Jahan was ruling in all his grandeur, and Aurangzeb was just one of his sons, there were others. So Aurangzeb sent him to Gujarat as a viceroy or governor. The king's sons were always given important posts. So he went there, and among the things that he did there was that he destroyed a Jain temple. And destroyed means he got a animal cut there and converted it into a masjid. Now that Jain temple, unfortunately for Aurangzeb, had been built by a very wealthy jeweler. That jeweler used to supply jewels even to the Mughals. So he had direct access to the Mughals. And Gujarat was a very important port area also, for the Mughals. So this Shanti Das, he wrote to Shah Jahan that what kind of behavior is this? It's not acceptable. What have we done that our temple has been desecrated? Now, at that time, Shah Jahan himself was demolishing temples in Banaras. But he realized that Shanti Das cannot be annoyed, and the importance of Gujarat for the Mughal economy also. So he recalled Aurangzeb from Gujarat and sent somebody else over there, and told that new governor that you please restore this temple to the Jain community. So Shanti Das said, now we cannot take back this temple because it has no meaning for us. It has been desecrated with the slaughter of an animal, and we don't want it now. And Shanti Das told everybody that the murtis that were in that temple have also been desecrated. So now there are no murtis and there is no temple. Now I'm just mentioning this story. I'll just conclude it, but I'll come back to Aurangzeb. So about 100 years later, or 70, 80 years later, when Aurangzeb had died, Shanti Das had died, and the Mughal Empire was in decline, then the Jain community one day brings out two images in a public procession that were part of that temple. They had hidden them underground in some basement while the threat was there, and they brought them out in public procession and resumed worship of them. But to continue the story of Aurangzeb. So this is one act of his when he was not the emperor, when his father was the emperor. Now, left historians, they will not mention this, but the farmans of Shah Jahan to the Mughals have survived. And we have an eyewitness of foreigner who came to Gujarat and visited that temple, and his account is there. So, there is no such thing as a perfect crime, if I can use modern terminology. There'll be evidence somewhere or the other. You have to look for it. So now leftist historians say that, Aurangzeb was pushed to take a fanatic line because, in the War of Succession, he had to get the sympathy of the Muslim elite and the ulema against his brother Dara. Okay. Even if we accept that, there are doubts about that argument. But supposing right now we accept that, yes, Aurangzeb took a hard line. After he won the battle, Dara was executed. Dara was no brother had survived. Everyone was killed. And Aurangzeb was firmly on the Mughal throne. So in the first year when he was on the throne, there was no challenge from any brother, isn't it? No brother had survived. In the first year as emperor, he went to Kashi. He ordered the destruction of a temple there, Kriti Visheshwar temple. That is in the first year of his reign. And again, you'll be surprised that, there is a pond over there. Not a pond, I can say a small pool. That marks the place where the first, second, third reconstructions of that temple took place. So that temple was rebuilt once, twice, thrice. It was destroyed each time. But even then, on Mahashivratri, the devotees would visit that site, make an offering, and the understanding was that the people in the masjid would take away the offerings. But the devotees went there where the first, second, and third temple had been destroyed. So this is the, commitment. And then, of course, we know about Aurangzeb's very famous acts in Mathura, Kashi, etc. But I've just given you two examples to show you that we should be aware of what people are trying to hide from us. Why is it that no leftist scholars are discussing this destruction of these temples? How many left historians have discussed Aurangzeb's action as Viceroy of Gujarat when his father was the king? And why did he, in the first year of his reign, go and destroy this temple in Kashi? No, and last thing, that is very important. I'm not discussing Mathura and Kashi and all right now. I want to tell you the last days of Aurangzeb. He lived till he was 90. So in his mid-80s, there is an order of his which has survived. The beauty of this thing is that evidence is all there. So he sends an order to his people in Gujarat. He says, these Hindus, at the time of festivals, they make these terracotta murtis. In Diwali, we all go and buy Lakshmi Ganesh ki wo murtiyan lete hain na market se. Mitti ki bani hoti hain. Every house we see that. So he says, they make these murtis. So you kindly make sure that they do not make these terracotta murtis. Now, is this the act of a Sufi? Make sure that they do not make these terracotta murtis. And can you imagine that tradition? The Hindus never give up. That tradition continues till today. And then the order says that go to Somnath. The temple has been destroyed. All right. But they go on worshipping there. So he says, go there. If they have resumed worship at Somnath, destroy it in such a way that worship can never be resumed again. So, this attempt to paint Aurangzeb as a great Sufi, I don't think it will appeal to anyone who has a sense of history and who knows something about history. And Aurangzeb has got a special place in the minds of people of the subcontinent because the attacks were too brutal. In Mathura, we know that, the murtis were taken away and they were buried under the steps of Jahanara's mosque at Agra so that the devotees climb on them. These are deliberate, calculated insults of a faith which was non-combative. It never advocated fight.